Here we presents the top 5 best cameras for YouTube. Starting at number 5, Sony PXW-Z90V. Sony has released a potentially game-changing compact 4K camcorder that is equally suitable for broadcast news, corporate events and even television production. The PXW-Z90V 4K HDR camcorder boasts many of the features found on more advanced models in the Sony XDCAM range, including the PXW-FS5 and PXW-FS7, but at a fraction of the cost. I recently had the pleasure of testing this little powerhouse of a camcorder here in Dubai, and was more than pleasantly surprised. On the outside, it looks almost identical to its popular predecessor, the PXW-X70, but on the inside, and straight out of the box, the PXW-Z90V is a major improvement. In fact, the PXW-Z90's autofocus abilities go way beyond that, with multiple modes including the useful flexible spot. This mode automatically identifies human faces and moving objects, and can even be set by touching the specific point of interest on the screen. A green box will appear around the selected area, and will then track the person or object as it, or the camera, moves. You can also use this mode to do automated focus pulls by selecting the 2 points on the screen that you want to pull focus from and to. It actually works incredibly well, to the point that the user will be able to produce very steady focus pulls, especially when zoomed in for tighter shots. Slow motion is definitely in vogue, and has been for some time, not least because it can make almost any image look awesome. The PXW-Z90 is no exception, with the capability of shooting up to that contains 2 XLR inputs with audio control buttons for both channels. The handle connects via a hot shoe, and can be removed at any time to make it easier to pack, or when you need to use any other top-mounted device. One of the other useful features of the Z90 is the connectivity. The Wi-Fi connection is complemented by the Sony Cam Viewing and Control app. The app was very easy to download onto my iPhone, and then fairly straightforward to connect to the Z90. If you want a reasonably priced professional camera with the option of interchangeable lenses and a super 35mm look, then you might want to opt for something like the Sony FS5. But if interchangeable lenses are not a sticking point, and you want an almost identical performer at half the price, then go for the PXW-Z90. It's a pocket rocket that will be hard to match. For more information and price, check out the product links in description. At number 4. Sony A7 III. Sony's 12.1 megapixel A7 III was worth the 5-year wait. It has the same incredible low-light capability of its predecessors, but adds much-needed features like improved stabilization, a flip-out touch display and 4K video at up to 120 FPS. Video dynamic range is dramatically improved, and it's now a stellar run-and-gun and vlogging camera. As a bonus, if you don't require high-resolution images, it's one of the quickest cameras available for photography. The biggest downsides are the low-resolution sensor and high $3,500 price tag. However, Canon's recent models looked impressive at first, only to have some annoying issues, especially around the area of overheating, when I got to test them in person. To see if the A7 III could avoid those snags, I took it to Paris, and around the Loire Valley before the France lockdown took effect. Here's what I found out. Since Sony builds the OLED electronic viewfinders used in most cameras, it's not shocking that the A7 III is the first to get its new 944mm EVF. It offers a huge 63% increase in resolution over the A7R IV, though frankly I didn't notice much difference in sharpness. It's a bit brighter though, which is always welcome. That brings us to this camera's forte, video. Almost everything that I ever complained about past Sony mirrorless cameras has been addressed. You can shoot 4K at up to 120 FPS, more than any other hybrid mirrorless camera except Canon's EOS R5, giving you some crazy creative options. If you shoot 1080p, the A7 III delivers the best HD quality of any Sony mirrorless camera, because it can super sample the entire sensor. It also supports 240 FPS for super slow-mo effects. If budget is an issue, and you need an all-around hybrid camera, check out the Canon R6, Panasonic S5 or Sony's own A7 III, all between $2,000 and $2,500. However, if you're into video or low-light photography, and have the budget, I'd highly recommend the A7 III. Feature for feature, it's simply the best camera I've ever tested. Halfway of my listed number 3. Nikon Z6. The The Nikon Z6 II is an updated version of the company's 24MP multimedia full-frame mirrorless camera. It gains more processing power, to add improved autofocus and a few other tweaks to an already well-rounded feature set. Nikon says the autofocus performance has been incrementally improved over the original Z6, but the most notable feature change is the addition of face and eye detection to the wide area AF mode. Previously, these features were only available in auto area AF, meaning the camera decided where to focus. By adding them to wide area, you are able to narrow down the region in which that camera hunts for faces, giving you a way of pre-selecting the face you wish to focus on. Nikon says the focusing system now works in light as low as -4.5 EV when using an f2.0 or faster lens. And that's without using the low light AF mode, which extends AF to light levels a further 2 stops lower, at the expense of longer acquisition speed. The Z6i's maximum burst speed tops out at an impressive 14 frames per second, but only if you use a single AF point, and you're willing to shoot JPEGs, or take the slight dynamic range hit of shooting 12-bit RAWs. If you want the camera to choose an AF point or track a subject, it shoots at a still very respectable 12 frames per second. The Z6 II is a pretty adept video camera. Nikon says it will add a super 35 4K 60p video mode that will bring it broadly into line with the specs of its 24MP peers. However, unlike the Canon EOS R6 and Panasonic Lumix S5, the Z6 II is unable to record 10-bit footage internally and instead requires an external recorder for log, HDR or RAW capture. The Z6 II builds on the Z6's already pretty strong video feature set, with the promise of UHD 4K 60p support and a free firmware update due in February 2021. This higher rate footage will come from an APS-C crop of the sensor, and will only be available for internal capture. However, while it does very well in most regards, it's noticeable that there are cameras that offer comparable AF performance with less need to switch modes, and others that offer more flexible 10-bit video footage without the need of an external recorder, for example. The occasional faint shattering of the Z-series lens motors, and the split-second hunting that precedes a big change in focus distance serve as reminders that very good is the minimum required just to remain competitive in 2020. Coming in at number 2. Sony ZV-1. Sony ZV-1 is an attempt to fill that gap, and also to fill the gap between what you can achieve with your smartphone, and what you can do with a more expensive mirrorless camera. Rather than start from scratch, however, Sony has modified its venerable RX100 into something more specifically designed for taking video of yourself. The result is an $800 camera that has a lot of very advanced video features and a handful of quirky or frustrating limitations. But it is also small enough to fit in a pocket, and it's a solid camera for taking regular photos too. Additionally, the screen articulates in a much better way, letting you put it in much more convenient positions. I can't emphasize enough how important this is. A fully articulated screen is the difference between getting the shot and not, and the ZV-1 side hinge lets you flip the screen around without it getting blocked by whatever you have in the hot shoe. There are other changes. The record button gets bigger, there's a nicer hand grip, a tally light recording indicator, a new 3-mic array, and a hot shoe for accessories. That last one is important, not having to fuss with wires or external rigs, just so you can attach a shotgun mic is huge. The ZV-1 is a kind of in-between camera. In full auto mode, the reasons to use it instead of just using your phone for photos and video aren't necessarily clear. An iPhone is more adept at making aggressive corrections for shake and brightness when necessary. There's a limit to what a phone can do, though, and that's where the ZV-1 lives. With its many controls and features, it can pull off video a phone can't. Vlogging is a professional job, and lots of those pros are well beyond what the ZV-1 is and can do. Many aren't, though, and others might just want something that's pocketable. I hope there are enough people to convince Sony to keep investing in the category. The ZV-1 is an admirable retrofit, but I'd love to see what a ground-up rebuild would look like. For more information and price, check out the product links in description. And number 1. Canon PowerShot G7X Mark III. As good as the latest smartphones are, there are still plenty of reasons to use a dedicated pocket camera. Pros who reach for a big camera with changeable lenses for work may want something smaller for more casual outings. A smartphone may suffice for some, but if you prefer the ergonomics and the handling of a traditional camera, the Canon PowerShot G7X Mark III is worth a look. It's not our absolute favorite in the category, but it is a very capable compact. If you can spend a bit more, think about our editor's choice, also from Canon, the $900 G5X Mark II, which has a bit more zoom power and an EVF. The G7X Mark III comes in at 2, 4x4, 1x1, 6 inches and 7 ounces. It's small enough to slide into my pocket comfortably, even though it's thicker than a phone. You can buy it in a black or silver finish, each with a black leatherette wrap. Top controls include the on-off button, shutter release, zoom control, mode dial, and an EV compensation control. The EV dial is nested below the mode, and supports 3 stops of adjustment in either direction with 3rd stop precision. The G7X Mark III includes micro HDMI, USB-C, and 3.5mm microphone connectors, and supports South Dakota, SDHC, and SDXC memory cards. In-camera charging is supported, but the camera is a little finicky about which power adapters it works with. I had success with my MacBook Pro charger, but you may find that your portable battery doesn't get the job done. The G7X Mark III uses a new sensor that supports faster readout than the previous generation model, which also adds some high-speed capture options. The camera shoots in RAW format at 30 fps with fixed focus for short bursts, and can also fire off at 20 fps in your choice of RAW, RAW plus JPG, or JPG format, also with locked focus. The shooting buffer is ample. You can snap close to 100 shots in a burst, and if you use a fast memory card, you won't have to wait too long for the images to save. That's not to say the G7X Mark III is a poor choice. However, if buying the G5X Mark II is too much of a stretch for your budget, think about saving a bit more and opting for older G7X Mark II instead. I have included these product link in the description. You can check out this link for more information and latest price. Thank you for watching this video. Please hit the like button, share with your friends, and be sure to subscribe.